News every 15 minutes, weather every 10, and sports twice an hour.
Newstalk, KGVO, AM 1290 and now 101.5 FM.
You're listening to Montana Morning with Peter Christian.
First Step may set a record in treating kids and adults this year. Good morning, everyone. Welcome. It's the Tuesday, October 13th edition of Montana Morning. Right now, the sky's cloudy. It's 49 degrees. And our newscast this morning, sponsored by Dig It Excavating, bringing 30 years of excellence to every job. Call 214-4292. First Step Resource Center in Missoula has been helping to offer medical attention to child abuse and sexual assault victims for 15 years. However, Clinical Supervisor Mary Pat Hansen told our Health Talk program yesterday that the number of cases handled by First Step will likely break records this year.
For the past several years, we've had about 400 clients a year. So that includes both the adults we serve and the kids we serve. About 80% of what we do is children, and about 20% of what we see are adults. And this year, our volume's up a little bit, and we're going to be probably just under 500.
Despite an uptick in the number of cases, Hansen says she thinks the high numbers are actually not because of an increase in criminal activity.
I think we're seeing an increase this year based on the good work that the professionals in our community are doing. We realize the value of working together. We realize that it's best practice to do this as a team and not to individually investigate or respond to child abuse or sexual violence. I don't think that it's because there's an increase in actual violence or child abuse. I think it's reflective of us doing a better job working together.
Hansen says less than half of the cases handled by First Step actually lead to a conviction because of the difficult nature of the crimes involved. When asked what the most common age of a patient at First Step was, Hansen says she wasn't quite sure, but likely in the 6 to 10-year-old range. Authorities have released the name of a man who was fatally shot at a home in Billings. Yellowstone County Deputy Coroner Cliff Mahoney identified the victim yesterday as 52-year-old Mark Joseph Kirby of Billings. Police were called to a home in the southwestern part of the city early Saturday and found Kirby with a gunshot wound to his upper body. The Billings Gazette reports he died at the scene. Police arrested 62-year-old Jose Pedro Cobos on suspicion of negligent homicide. The FBI is investigating the stabbing death of a 58-year-old Hayes man. Lane County Sheriff Glenn Eustis told the Havre Daily News an autopsy performed over the weekend determined Sean Snow died October 3rd of stab wounds believed to have been from a screwdriver. Eustis says the county is responsible for overseeing the autopsy, but because Hayes died on the Fort Belknap Reservation, the FBI is investigating. The Cottonwood Gulch Fire near Manhattan, Montana, which is near Bozeman, broke out just before noon Sunday, but quickly grew to over 8,000 acres. Fire Information Officer Kerry O'Connell said there are some homes within a few hundred yards of that blaze.
We have about 50 structures that are threatened right now. Those residents have been notified by law enforcement that the fire is in the area, and nobody has been evacuated from their home because of the fire. We've notified a lot of people that we may have to do that in case the fire spreads towards their home.
The fire is burning on state and private lands and grew rapidly with strong winds.
We're saying it's about 8,700 acres. We have a rough GPS on it. It was a wind-driven fire, so we had quite a bit of wind that was carrying that fire to the northeast from where it started. And it was screaming through there when it was going.
Investigators have revealed the fire was human-caused, but authorities couldn't disclose whether the fire was malicious or accidental. Wildlife officials say there's been a surge of bear deaths along Montana highways as more bears have been making their way down to river valleys in search of food ahead of their winter hibernation. The Missoulian newspaper reports Montana Fish, Wildlife, and Parks bear expert Jamie Jonkel says 14 bears have died on highways near the Clark Fork and Lower Blackfoot River valleys. The bears have been killed in collisions on I-90, Highway 10, and Highway 200. According to wildlife experts, the bears started heading down early this year in July and August after an early berry season in the mountains came to an end. Jonkel says more bear deaths are expected in coming weeks. By the end of October, there should be fewer road kills. Wildlife officials say a woman survived a bear attack along the Yellowstone River near Emigrant after her dog intervened and chased the bear away. The Bozeman Daily Chronicle newspaper reports Montana Fish, Wildlife, and Parks said in a news release the woman was likely bit in the head during the Monday attack. The dog chased the bear away. Republican Greg Gianforte is still in the midst of exploring a possible run to be the governor of Montana, even though he hasn't officially declared he's in the race. His exploratory campaign posted some big numbers in their first financial report.
We filed about 8 weeks ago, exploratory, and we've been just, honestly, as we've traveled around the state and visited with people, even though this is my first time in politics, boy, there's a lot of support for getting more business experience up in Helena. And we had one of the best fundraising periods that any statewide candidate's ever had in their first 6 weeks.
Gianforte's campaign reported they had raised over $255,000 in their first 8 weeks. The AP released a campaign finance report on Sunday, but had to issue a correction after they overcalculated the number of incumbent Governor Steve Bullock had raised since July by over $309,000. Their new report puts Bullock's report at $286,000, putting the candidates nearly neck and neck for the quarter. Gianforte says ultimately the voters will decide.
Ultimately, Montanans are going to make the decision who they want to have as governor. Our proposition is pretty simple. Montana's 49th in the country in wages, and we've shown in Gallatin County that we can create high-wage jobs in Montana. We'd like to work with all Montanans to create better opportunities so young people can make their way here in Montana and not have to leave to find a higher-paying job. It's a pretty simple proposition.
A total of 5 people have filed to potentially run for governor. When asked to be expected his early lead to help in a primary, Gianforte said, quote, "It is important to demonstrate support early because it shows a candidate has momentum," end quote. The Missoula Redevelopment Agency and its consultants will host a community workshop for the North Reserve Scott Street Urban Renewal District Master Plan. One of the chief planning engineers at WGM Group, Jeremy Keene, explains.
It's a very diverse area with a lot of different kinds of land use going on, everything from commercial to heavy industrial to some residential. So figuring out how those different kinds of uses can work together and how we can continue to grow Missoula in that part of town.
Keene said the input received from the public will definitely be used as officials plan for the future of that area.
We'll use that information to start to form kind of a framework plan, a concept for the area that will identify where those uses go and how we create both transitions between those uses and connections for transportation and circulation within the district.
The first public input meeting is tomorrow evening, 6:30 until 8:30 at Ruby's Inn on North Reserve. Newstalk Times, 612.
Newstalk, KGVO.
Missoula's official weather station.
Mostly sunny skies for the day ahead, with our high temperatures warming into the upper 60s, close to 70. Winds will be out of the south at 5 to 15 miles per hour. Mostly clear tonight, lows in the upper 30s. I'm meteorologist Brooke Foster for Missoula's KECI 13.